behind the door, waiting to be summoned. He's blindfolded, and there's a noose around his neck with a length of rope trailing behind. His chest is exposed at the left breast, and his left pant leg rolled up. The doorkeeper raps 3 times and announces that the candidate desires to enter and obtain the privileges of Freemasonry. With that, the candidate is escorted into the lodge by the inner guard. The guard holds the tip of a dagger against the candidate's bare chest and asks if he feels anything. Next, the candidate kneels before the head of the lodge, the worshipful master, and they engage in a ritual question and answer. He's led by the rope or cable tow to an altar with a Bible or other holy book. Standing with his heels together to form a square, the candidate now kneels. He places his right hand on the Bible and with his left presses the point of a compass against his chest. He swears to forever conceal and never reveal any of the secret arts, parts, or points of the hidden mysteries of Freemasonry. If he breaks that promise, he binds himself to having my throat cut across, my tongue torn out, my body buried in the sands of the sea at low tide. The assembled brothers rise and give the sign of the entered apprentice, right hand held palm down beneath the chin, with the elbows straight out. The master asks the candidate what he seeks. He replies, "The light." The master strikes his gavel and the hood is removed. Now the candidate is shown 3 sacred objects, the holy book, the square, and the compass. The master reminds him that he faces terrible retribution should he ever betray the organization's secrets. Next comes instruction in the secret hand sign or grip and the secret word, Boaz. The candidate receives his Masonic badge and the symbolic tools, a gavel and a ruler. The candidate leaves to change clothes and returns to receive the final charges. He is instructed that he must understand the importance of God, must be law-abiding, must abstain from political or religious discussion in the lodge, and must obey the master and other officers. He's again warned he must never reveal any secrets of the Brotherhood. Secrecy, if you haven't noticed, is a big deal. The new brother has entered the first grade of Freemasonry. Above it are 2 more, fellow craft and master mason. Each has its ritual, oath of secrecy, and prescribed horrible punishments. In regular or blue lodge masonry, that's all there is to it. But let's take a closer look at the Brotherhood. Arguably the most successful secret society in history. We'll examine how it grew into a worldwide presence and how Freemasonry inspired and influenced many other societies. Many Freemasons object to their order being called a secret society. After all, they don't hide their existence. They openly advertise, as evident from the signs outside almost every American town. Instead, Masons prefer to be called a society with secrets. But our definition of secret societies, selective recruitment, promise of special knowledge or status, and oaths of loyalty and secrecy, fits Freemasonry perfectly. Remember, it's what goes on inside the organization that's secret. The initiation's repeated demands of secrecy make that abundantly clear. And that raises the question of how I, a non-Mason, obtained those details. Very simple. I just looked. They've long been accessible to anybody who bothered. The illusion of secrecy is more important than the reality. It's a common enough phenomenon that Freemasonry even has a name for nosy outsiders, Cowans. Cowan once met a man who practiced the trade without proper accreditation, but it came to signify someone who sought to learn the secrets of Freemasonry without being admitted to the fraternity. You might have gone through the initiation described or one similar. There are many variations. That's because there's never been just one Freemasonry. No one owns the rights to the name. There are many variations, and they don't play by the same rules. Most Masonic lodges don't admit women, but some do. The usual age for admission is 21, but it can be 25 or 18. Here's another example. American Masonic lodges are mostly split between two grand lodges or jurisdictions: the ancient Free and Accepted Masons, AF and AM, and the Free and Accepted Masons, F and AM. One controls the Grand Lodges in 24 states, the latter in 25 states. There are two exceptions: South Carolina, which is under its own ancient Freemasons, AFM, and the District of Columbia, which has the Free and Accepted Masons, FAAM. They mutually recognize each other as regular, but differ in details. Yet all trace their origin to the Grand Lodge of England. So how do you get 4 jurisdictions out of one Grand Lodge? Hang on, we'll come back to that. But you can see why I call Freemasonry a house of many rooms. Another important point is that the origins of Freemasonry are lost in time. That gives free rein to speculation. While a lodge may consider itself regular and another irregular, that's just a matter of opinion. Ask the average Mason what the lodge is about, and the common answer will be fellowship. Formally, Freemasonry is a system of morality veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. Consider again the initiation I described a few moments ago. The candidate entered the lodge through the western door and proceeded towards the worshipful master at the eastern end. That represents the Masonic myth that wisdom, the light, comes from the east, and those in search of it symbolically travel from west to east. The candidate was blindfolded to symbolize his ignorance before the light was received. His breast was exposed to prove he wasn't a woman. His left pant leg was rolled up as evidence that he was able-bodied. Of course, a single exposed limb proves little. It's the symbolism that counts. Similarly, the gavel, square, and apron the new Mason receives are based on actual stonemason gear. But none of them will be used to do real work. With rare exception, no one in the lodge is actually a Mason. They're all just pretending to be. Why? Then there are those terms free and accepted. Free originally meant a man who wasn't a slave or a bondservant, and so who was able to travel from one place to another. Later, it acquired the additional meaning of someone unencumbered by any obligations that might conflict with Masonic ones. An operative Mason is someone who actually knows and works in the trade, a real Mason. Accepted, also called speculative Masons, are men admitted to lodges without any intention of actually laying bricks or stones. They're symbolic Masons. The widely accepted belief is that for some inexplicable reason, stonemason guilds began accepting non-working members. Over time, the accepted brethren, mostly wealthy aristocrats or tradesmen, became dominant, and the real Masons dropped out.